speaking, if you could please turn your cameras off so that it's a little bit less overwhelming and so we can concentrate a little bit easier on who's speaking. You've probably noticed that the meeting is being recorded, and that's also for access purposes, so that in case you are not able to join us for the entire event today or want to catch up on something a bit later, we'll make it available at a later stage. And we can give details about that on our websites after the event. It's also because some of the content in today's talk might be a little bit triggering for some people. We will be talking about topics such as ableism and the murder of disabled people. So if those are themes that you don't really want to hear about today, that's totally fine. Or if you want to listen to it at another time, if it gets too much, don't worry. You can have a look at the recording later on. We also have the function to have subtitles. So if English is not accessible to you, then you can use the subtitle function down the bottom, which you will see in the little box with CC, and you can choose your language. That is artificial intelligence generated, so it might not be 100% accurate. If there's any questions that you have about any of the information, then please just let us know, and we're happy to answer any questions to clarify anything that maybe is mistranslated, or if you misunderstand, please don't be shy. Just jump on the chat and let us know. What else did I want to say about access? I'm going to check my notes so I don't forget anything. Yes. Also, maybe just a note to our speakers who will speak today to try and do a little very, very quick self-description of yourself before you start talking today. As I have already, make sure that you try and speak slowly so that our interpreters can understand as well. We will be having very quick breaks where the interpreters will swap over as well. Speaking about breaks, we have some scheduled breaks planned during the event as well today so that you can have some rest. But of course, this is also a relaxed event, so if you need to walk away and come back, that's also totally fine. And as I said, there's a recording so that if you miss anything, you can catch up later on. We will have a break. Our first break will be, let me just check my schedule here, 5 o'clock Berlin time, 6 o'clock Athens time. We'll have about a 15-minute break for that. If you have any questions for any of our speakers today, you're more than welcome to ask some questions either in the chat function. We do ask you to maybe leave this till a little bit later on if you can. And we'll also have a bigger Q&A section at the end of today's session as well. And jump on the microphone if you want to. I think that was it for the accessing things, unless I've forgotten anything. I'm looking at my colleagues a little bit to see if I've forgotten anything. I hope not. If I have, then please just let me know. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Marilena from Liminal, who will introduce Liminal and explain a little bit about the background to our project and today's event.
Thank you so much, Kate, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our online event, Worth to be Remembered, From History to Art. Thank you for being here today. My name is Madlena Koukouli. I'm program manager at Liminal and the project manager of this particular project. I'm a young woman with curly long hair, wearing with blue eyes, and today I'm wearing a gray shirt. Yeah, I think Kate said everything about accessibility, but please, if you have any questions or something will come up with the interpreters or anything, please, you can send us to the chat or raise your hand, and we will be happy to help you. And in general, please make yourself comfortable, and we want to hear your thoughts throughout this event. Before we begin, a few words about Liminal and the context of this event. Liminal is a non-profit organization dedicated to promoting equal participation in culture. Since 2016, it has been actively contributing to the shift toward a cultural landscape that fully embraces human diversity, on the belief that unrestricted access to culture is both a fundamental human right and a driving force for renewing artistic practices and strengthening the social impact of art. I'm waiting because I know that I speak even in English really quick. Sorry. The core pillars of our activity is education, accessibility services, productions and research. A few words. Education, that is, we coordinate and implement artistic educational initiatives. And we also support and train cultural professionals, artists, and institutions on accessibility and inclusion. Accessibility services, that is, we design and deliver services such as audio description for performances or subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing audiences, among others. We also create and produce accessible and inclusive artworks at events. And finally, we explore and develop innovative solutions that merge accessibility with artistic creation. About this project, this event is part of the project Worthy to be Remembered, Artistic Reflections on Memory and History. And as Kate said, is an initiative of Liminal, Eberly Inclusion, and Simio, Researching and Comforting the Far Right. Also, the project is co-financed by the German Federal Foreign Office through the German-Greek Future Fund. And I think today is with us Mr. Giorgos Monogiudis from the German Embassy in Greece, and we want to thank him and the Embassy for the presence and the support throughout this project. So this project builds on a previous one, on the historical research from the previous Liminal project. I will say the title again, Worthy to be Remembered, Honoring Disabled Victims of Nazi Persecution in Greece and Germany, also funded by the Greek-German Fund for the Future. In this first phase, the project shed light to the often overlooked history of disabled individuals persecuted under the Nazi regime in both Greece and Germany. It contributed to historical research led by the historian Dr. Iasonas Chandrinos, who explored the under-recognized resistance of disabled individuals within the Greek National Liberation Front, EAM, during the occupation in Greece, and the following brutal violence that they endured, culminating in the blockade of Athens Hospital by local collaborators on the 30th of November 1943. On that day, Greek collaborators of the occupation forces blockaded hospital in Athens, arresting approximately 1,700 disabled war veterans and staff from the hospital who participated in the national resistance in Greece. Also, Iasonas uncovered the fate of political prisoners, mostly from Crete, who were murdered in the Hartheim Castle Tower, a Nazi euthanasia center used for extermination of political prisoners, and before that of disabled people. So this research of Dr. Iasonas Chandrinos resulted in 2 freely available articles in Greek and in German. We can share with you anytime. Maybe we will send in the chat. Sorry. Also in 2 events in Athens and Berlin, sharing these historical findings with the public, and a podcast in Greek. Yeah, I can send the link to anyone who might be interested. They're online and accessible versions too. For today's event, From History to Art, this is part of this art project that is the next phase, let's say, that aims to honor and reimagine these overlooked narratives through artistic practice, exploring how art can transform difficult heritage into acts of remembrance and connect historical injustices with contemporary forms of ableism and exclusion. What happened in a nutshell? Following an open call, for disabled and deaf artists, 4 artists were selected, 2 based in Greece and 2 in Germany, who are here today: Vicky, Eva, Arsi, Kate, and Almitra. They will be formally and properly introduced by Kate soon. The artists participate in an online mini residency program, which included sessions introducing the historical context and also key accessibility concepts in performing and visual arts, personalized one-on-one monitoring from members of us, Liminal and Inclusion, and overall support in order to develop accessible artworks or ideas inspired by historical narratives and the contemporary resonances. And today, the artists will present their work in progress and share their insights until now in this creative process and reflect on the themes that they explored. And I think I covered the context, Kate. If you want to add anything, of course.
Thank you so much, Marilena. Yeah, I think the only thing I can really add is that it's been a really lovely collaboration. It's not very often that Inclusion gets the chance to work internationally with other similar organizations. So it's been a really interesting opportunity for us as well to exchange. And yeah, to be able to host this residency program, I hope that in the future we'll be able to do more of these. They're very, very much needed. Perhaps one other thing just about the residency program and the residency program and some of the background to it. It's been also really interesting not just to exchange about different cultures and different understandings of disability history and disability resistance and how different international movements come together. But what's also been really interesting with this project is to exchange thoughts and ideas about different disciplines within art. And I think a lot of people who are familiar already with artists with disabilities and their work, or the disability art scene, if you want to call it that, is that it's very heavily, or let's say it a different way, often we see a lot more representation of artists in the performing arts field, and that's something that Liminal are very much a part of and very much support in the Greek context. What we don't often see is visual arts and support programs for visual artists. So it's been really lovely to be able to provide that support, but also to have conversations around what can we learn from the performing arts sector, what kind of access aesthetics can we bring over into visual arts practices. And that's been a really interesting conversation that I hope we can continue in the future. But enough from me. I'm going to shut up now and pass over to the artists. Before I do that, I will introduce them. I'm really, really excited to introduce our public, these wonderful, wonderful artists and their work. And I'm going to read their little introduction for each of them. So today we have 2 artists from Greece and 2 artists from Germany, or at least I say from, that's sort of their context, but of course it's a very international project. We have Vicky Dimitropoulou apologies for my terrible pronunciation. I'm glad, oh, good, I got that okay, fantastic. Vicky is a deaf and hard of hearing performer and cultural manager based in Greece and Spain. Her work combines storytelling, performance, and social research with a focus on the social issues faced by the communities she collaborates with. We have Eva Lampada, a visual artist, performer, and graphic designer based in Athens. She paints with her mouth and uses stillness of the body as a means of expression, redefining notions of identity and diversity. Her work challenges social stereotypes and advocates for a more inclusive understanding of disability. We have R.C. Tauber and Kit Blamir, who are an artist duo. R.C. Tauber is a queer disabled artist based in Berlin. Their recent work engages with language, sound, and clay as primary media. Kit Blamir is a queer disabled filmmaker, writer, and rhizo printmaker whose work focuses on sickness and anti-capitalism and on documenting pandemic grief. They seek to explore how fascist ideologies shape society's understanding of disability and how resistance emerges in our everyday lives and collective movements. And lastly, we have Amitra Piritidis. Amitra is an interdisciplinary artist based in Berlin. She uses body-based practices like movement research, dance, and performance to explore how sickness, memory, and identity, both personal and collective, intersect and shape our experiences. And just a note about Amitra. Unfortunately, Amitra can't join us today. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit about her work and what she's been working on in the residency. She's very, very sad that she can't join us today, but hopefully can join us another time if we have another event in the future. So without further ado, we're going to jump into our artist presentations. I'm going to ask our first artist to join us, Vicky. Vicky, are you there? Are you ready? Feel free to take a few moments to get yourself
I'm here, yeah.
ready. And for those of us in the audience, feel free to get even more comfortable. Oh, great, wonderful. Hi, Vicky.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. So I will present myself before starting the presentation. I'm a woman in my mid-30s. My hair is quite gray. I have a little blanket. It's quite cold today, and pink t-shirt. And shall I start my presentation? Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you need me to keep time for you or anything and let you know when the 15 minutes
It would be
is
great.
coming
Yeah,
to an
yeah.
end? Sure.
So I'm not sure how I'm supposed to start sharing the presentation. Just give me a second, please.
The icon share with the arrow, the center.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see it. Sorry. Could you please, Marilena, tell me again where it is?
At the bottom with the icons, at the center, share with an arrow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little bit nervous, as you can see. Okay. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So, my work, I named it Memories of Resistance, and it's a work in progress. It's not finished. Um, it's a working performance. Since the beginning, I knew that I wanted to do a walking performance, and my first idea was to start at Syntagma Square in Athens. And then I wanted to visit the two main hospitals where the disabled war veterans were when they were in this period in Athens, Areteion Hospital and Elpis Hospital. But then I decided that I wanted to start to have like a starting point Areteion Hospital and finishing point Elpis Hospital because they are closer and as I said, it's like a work in progress. So I thought that it would be maybe a little bit easier. Apart from the fact that I wanted to do a walking performance, I was working with
Oui,
objects.
oui. Ça, c'était sa partie salaire? Oui, en fait, ça paraît.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, sorry. So I wanted to work with specific objects, and one of them was this black banner, this black how to say, bag, let's call it, that you can see in the picture. It's like a cloth, black cloth that it's folded. And in the picture, we cannot see anything else, but it's a black cloth. And I was inspired by the images that we could see from the hospitals that people used to use back in the day during the occupation, black clothes to hang from the hospitals and write names of people that have died. And one other object that was very significant for me was the newspaper, A Voice of the Disabled, that we were able to see and read even in the research that Iasonas did. And at that point, I would like to mention that since the beginning, in my research, I linked what happened by the Nazi occupation in Greece with what happened and is happening in Gaza hospitals. So yeah, the fact that many people have been amputated and disabled. So it was really important for me to represent that in a way. That's why I chose the kefiyeh, the Palestinian scarf. And at the same time, I was thinking other objects, and I decided to use the tamata in case that you don't know what tamata is. There are rectangular metal plates that I use like offerings in the Greek Orthodox Church. So, okay, walking performance, the objects. So here you can see two pictures of the first trial route I did in Athens because I wanted to see where I was going, where we were going to walk. So in case you don't know, Athens is not quite an accessible place. So for me, it was really important to find the most accessible route to move with the people that we were going to do the performance. In the first picture, we can see a quite narrow pedestrian pavement next to the street and an obstacle. And in the second picture, a similar narrow pavement without a really accessible way to go with if you were in a wheelchair. So I'm saying this because I realized that this first trial route I did, it wasn't accessible at all. And although it was quite interesting for me because there was not so much noise that actually quite affects me, a lot of cars that were next to the hospitals, I decided that it wouldn't be the route that we would use. So together with a member from Liminal, we did another route, and in the end, it was the final route for the performance. In the pictures, what you can see are not accessible pavements. In the first picture, we see we can understand that the pavement is quite bigger, but the street is not in a really good condition. And in the second picture, there is no visible, at least, way to cross, but at least it was bigger, the pavement, and we could walk in a big group. And I say that because it was important for me to be all together. And for example, if we were planning to have Greek language, Greek sign language interpretation. So in that case, people have to be like 2 people, 3 people have to be close and be able to communicate. If the pavement is too narrow, this would be impossible. So yeah, this was my final route that you saw some pictures. And here is the starting of the performance. We see in the first picture on the left a group of people and outside the hospital. And I decided to reappropriate, as I said, the offerings that we do in the Greek Orthodox Church and put them as a kind of monument, as an offering to the hospital, because when I visited the hospitals, I realized that there were no mention of what has happened there. There were no names of the people that have been there, of the resistant fighters, I mean. So I decided to put this kind of offerings, and I also wrote EAM, and this is the National Liberation Front. You will see that in the next picture. But yeah, in the second picture on the right, you can see me hanging on the door of the hospital these offerings, these metal plates. And here is the plate. It's a hand. Usually they put like members of the body. Sometimes it's a hand, sometimes it's a foot, sometimes an ear, an eye. And I also like them because we could touch and feel how is the hand. So everyone touched them in the beginning, and then I put it on the door. Here on the first picture on the left, you can see a person having on their hand this metal plate with the EAM writing, National Liberation Front. And in the second picture on the right, you can see the plates on the door. And I just want to say that I'm really inspired of this artist, Pasho Katraki, and that she also did many work arts that commemorate what happened in this period. So in the future, I want to create my own metal plates and paying an homage, let's say, to this artist as well and this whole period once again. Another phrase that I just wanted to mention quite briefly, here we can see like a text written by me with white letters. It's a phrase of the third prime minister that collaborated with the Nazis. He said, the hospitals were not longer hospitals. They were centers of communism, centers of anarchist and communist activity. The disabled were not disabled, but false disabled, that were asking for the help, let's say. It's not an appropriate way, but yeah, the help of the state. They don't offer anything to the state and the nation. They don't produce nothing at all. So this phrase was really important for me, and I included it in the performance because I think that represented the whole period and what also left in Greece after that. Okay, maybe we can discuss that later, but yeah, I really wanted to include it. So I also told it during the performance. And here is when we started walking in Athens. In the first picture on the left, you can see me with black trousers and the black sack, the black bag mentioned in the beginning, folded, and walking with also another person in a wheelchair. And on the right picture, you can see that we also had audio description. And so there is a member of Liminal that is describing to a blind person that was with us in the performance what is happening during this walk. So yeah, here is a picture of the finishing point, the LP's hospital. It's the entrance, and when we went there, actually, yeah, we had asked for a permission to do the performance, but we didn't have an answer. So we entered the hospital place, despite the fact that we didn't have a formal, let's say, permission. And in the next picture, it's going to be actually a really short video of me unfolding the bag that I have been carrying during the performance. And it's going to reveal that the bag actually has some names written. I'm just describing so you will see it now as well. So yeah, I will tell more details after that. Oh, sorry. It's the same. Sorry. So what happened when we entered was that, yeah, as I told you, I unfolded the black cloth, this bag I have been carrying, and inside there was the kefiyeh, the Palestinian scarf, and also inside the scarf were the newspaper, the voice of the disabled. So I gave this newspaper to the people that were with me, and then I unfolded the cloth, and this black cloth with names written with red paint and also white paint, and I started telling the names of the assassinated people. And yeah, at that time, actually, it was really brief, so we had to leave the hospital premises, and we went out. In this picture, you just see me when I'm unfolding the cloth with the Palestinian scarf on me. That is a white with black motifs scarf. And it was really also important for me to present the cloth there, because it was next to the steps where carved names, engraved, sorry, names of people that have died there were on the stairs. On the first picture on the left, we can see that it says the name Georgios. It's on white marble stairs. And on the second picture on the right, also some other names and a person pointing to those names. So yeah, many significances for me to do this on this place. And when we went out, we just found a place where we could sit, and we unfolded also the cloth, and we started talking about a little bit more what happened. I forgot to mention that there was also a person with us that his father was a war veteran that had like he wasn't disabled, but he was affected, but by the but what has happened. I'm sorry, I remember the word. The cold. He was affected by the cold. Yeah, and he was also part of the YAM, the National Liberation Front. So he was telling us stories during the performance. He was telling us some things about his father, about the fact that it was really difficult for him to talk about this whole experience. I mean, about the father. And yeah, so we closed, let's say, the performance in that way, talking a little bit more. So in the picture, on the right, you can see again some of us talking. There is a person on the wheelchair. There is the cloth with the names on the ground. I forgot to say that the names that are written with white paint are the Palestinian names. There are two deaf Palestinians that were killed by the Israeli army. Yeah. And here is the last picture of us having the cloth with some of the names. They are not all the names that of the people that were killed. It's more of a symbolic act. But the first person is the first person, Dionysios Dimakopoulos, that is written on the cloth, is the first person that was assassinated by the Greek collaborationists to the Nazis. So yeah, it was also significant for me to put it there. And yeah, this is where it finishes. The performance finished, and as I said, it's a work in progress. I really want to continue with other ways, like as I mentioned before, I'm creating right now my own metal plates to put as offerings, and also I would like to create another kind of cloth, maybe wear it and do another route in Athens from a different starting and finishing points. So yeah, I don't know how much time do I have, or if my time is finished.
I think it's just about spot on, but I wanted to jump in and say thank you so much for sharing. This is super interesting. It's always I was here in Berlin the whole time when the artist went to Athens, so unlike the lucky people from Liminal, I didn't get to participate in the walk or get to see a lot of these activities in Greece, which is a real shame. I would have really liked to have participated. We talked quite a lot about this need to, I think we talked a lot, I think with a lot of people in the group about this need to commemorate because the commemoration of a lot of these people just isn't there. It isn't really very visible at all. And I just wanted to ask you maybe just one quick question before we move on to Aoife. I wanted to ask you a little bit about like what that felt like for you to be going on this route and really like retracing the same steps of people, you know, from such a long time ago.
Because actually there were like a lot of mixed feelings, because I wanted Marilena and other people asked me, why do you want to do this? I mean, this walking performance. And actually, for me, it's important because it's not only to commemorate the resistance of what has happened. Of course, this is very important, but also because as people, disabled people moving in the city, and I mean, we are visibly disabled because we had a person in a wheelchair, a blind person, of course, me, a deaf person, it's not visible, but I think it's a kind of resistance to move around sometimes in a city like Athens. and reappropriate some of the places. We went on the avenue on a moment because it was impossible to be on the pavement. And when we started, because when we talked, I really like the fact that you said about the importance to move all together, and the fact that it's kind of not it's kind of it's a disability justice when the group moves all together, and not some people go from the pavement and other people go from the street. So we were going all together from the street, so we went from the avenue, and the bus was coming, but of course nothing happened. Yeah, it was really safe, because other people were controlling this from Liminal as well. But I mean that, yeah, it was also important for that, because I wanted to reappropriate the public space, and also imagine what people these people might do, like back in the day, move around the city on using their wheelchairs, all the means that they had. So yeah, it was like it had many levels of significance for me.
Thank you so much. It's really great to see how much work you've put into it. I think Marilena has a quick question, I think, and then we'll go to Eva.
Yeah, not a question, just to add, Vicky said, I think during the performance, that on the act, simply walking in the city center of Athens is an act of resistance. And and to do discussion outside in the public space of a disabled group, it was really revolutionary to reclaim public space. And I think that, because I asked why you do that, it was 1 kilometer and 1.5, something like that. But yeah, that's that. Only to add that. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. But I also I would like to mention that during that I had like quite a lot of access anxiety, because it was like, okay, I don't know if everyone is gonna be okay. We tried and we mentioned since the beginning all the instructions and how many kilometers, how much time, if someone needed to make a pause, or if I would like to leave. So yeah, we took that into consideration. But yeah, Athens is quite a hostile city, so in this aspect. But yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some really nice sub themes of solidarity and running through your work. So not just the solidarity with Palestine or Palestinian victims, but also the solidarity that we create when we do something participatory and we take other people's access needs into account in order to all go together rather than being individual fighters on our own. I think it's a really beautiful gesture that speaks a lot about that. Thank you so much, Vicky.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm gonna ask you to stop sharing your screen, unfortunately, and to ask Aoife to start your camera, and if you would like to present what you did during the residency. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Eva Lambara, Eva artist from Greece. I am a visual artist, a performer and a graphic designer. I am a woman with long red hair and light blue eyes. I like to wear black because it emphasizes the light on my face. I have a muscular dystrophy that gives me a mobility disability. Right now I am using the computer with my eyes, and my friend Myrto is my voice for today's meeting. I have made a design for a visual art exhibition with the title Hardheim, the Journey of No Return. Research framework. The exhibition is based on historical documentation from the research of Dr. Iason Chandrinos, Greek prisoners in Nazi euthanasia centers 2024. The
Sorry,
material...
I'm sorry. We cannot see the screen.
Δεν βλέπουμε την...
Now, okay. Perfect. Sorry.
We are using the computer with the eyes, so maybe it will be some delay, but you're going to see eventually. So the research framework is based on historical documentation of the research of Dr. Iason Chandrinos, Greek prisoners in Nazi euthanasia centers 2024. The material illuminates the tragic journey of the Cretan resistance fighters who were transferred from Mauthausen to Hardheim, revealing how the ward Erholungsheim Rehabilitation Center was used to conceal mass extermination and how medicine was turned into an instrument of death. Why I chose this theme. Hardheim is not just a historical event. It is an alarm signal, a place where the human became a number, where medicine became an instrument of death, where state power became a death factory. Today, in Greece and in Europe, far-right tendencies are once again raising their heads. The rhetoric of hate, nationalism as purification, a division between the normal and the abnormal, the same vocabulary again, the same need for a scapegoated. Other, disabled people, foreigners, LGBTQ+, refugees. If we do not speak now, history will not come back, it will continue. Memory is not an honor, it is an obligation. Nazi violence did not emerge out of nothing. It was cultivated by institutions, intellectuals, politicians. It was systematic, bureaucratic, socially accepted. Today, the far right returns in a new form. Conspiracy theories, national purity, racism disguised as realism. As hatred becomes a political proposal, inhumanity becomes freedom of speech. It is not enough to remember the dead. We must defend the living. Where I started from. The first work that was born in my mind was a two-sided mirror with the question, if you had lived then, would you have resisted? And today, why do you remain silent? So, I started from the end, because there, in the reflection, responsibility begins. Memory is not past, it is an act of the present. This exhibition records the historical narrative and at the same time creates emotional and aesthetic involvement, a ritual of remembrance, a provocation of conscience. Description of the art exhibition. The proposed exhibition aims to honor the memory of the Greek prisoners who were murdered at the Nazi euthanasia center of Hardheim, Austria 1940-45, and highlight the mechanism of Nazi violence not only as a historical fact but also as a warning for today. The exhibition combines historical research, visual creation, and participatory actions, inviting the visitor to experience memory and to reflect on its contemporary significance. Through visual art, light, sound, objects, and questions, the visitor experiences the course. Abduction, imprisonment, extermination, memory, conscience. These works compose an experiential path. It begins with the arrest, passes through the concentration camp, reaches the Hardheim castle, and ends in memory and dialogue with the present. Central idea. Hardheim is not only a historical event, it is a mirror of a violence that can return. The exhibition is aiming to reveal how the notions of undesirable, incapable, abnormal were used as an excuse for mass extermination, and how today similar vocabularies reappear in public discourse. Thematic axis, the abduction, the beginning of horror, the camp, the enslavement of the body, Hardheim, the tower of medical horror, the testimony, the unspeakable, finds a voice, silence and ashes, memory today. Artworks and installations. Some of my work will be presented today in this project through a visual spatial layout in the sequence in which the visitor encounters them, a kind of a pathway map that guides the visitor as they move from one work to the next. Due to lack of time, 2 of my 6 works will be described in detail and the rest in a general description. You can find all my work in a presentation that will be uploaded at Liminal. Multisensory exhibition path. Hardheim, the journey of no return. 1. The abduction. Artwork. Map on skin. Skin, human or animal, is the first boundary of existence. It is what endured violence. Marking, numbering. By drawing the map of the journey, Kret, Mauthausen, Hardheim, on skin you turn geography into body and the root into trauma. The skin as a carrier of memory, the root as a scar. Red color used as blood or writing. The map as the anatomy of the history that is carved onto the body. It is as if you carve history onto the flesh. This works as a commentary on dehumanization. The prisoners became numbers. Materials and technique. Material, synthetic or eco-leather so that the work clearly indicates representation without exploitation. Relief acrylic paint with volume. Earth and blood tones. Brown, ochre, rust, black, deep red. For the root, incision with a sharp tool to give the sense of a scar. Dimensions. Approximately 1 to 1.5 meters. Mode of presentation. The work is hung like a hide with a shadowy backlighting. The materiality of the work evokes reminds of human flesh, as the skin becomes a bearer carrier of memory, a side place of trauma and a scar of history. Below the map lie 2 old suitcases are placed with name tags, real names of the 57 victims, clothes thrown on the floor, and scattered arrest documents with German words. Abtransportient, transported. Gefangen, prisoner. Erholungsheim, rehabilitation center. The work functions as a border between the familiar and annihilation. The visitor stands before the last moment of freedom, before imprisonment, before disappearance. Interpretive dimension. The skin is the first surface on which violence is carved. The mapping upon it turns geography into anatomy and the root into a wound. The red color functions as blood, writing and trace. The work itself speaks of dehumanization, where the body becomes a number and memory survives only through matter. Multisensory experience. Sounds. You hear seatbelts, children's voices, wind passing through leaves, Karetan marinades, and the sound of the lira. Gradually, siren center, gunshots, rhythmic steps of soldiers, commands in German and prayers in the Cretan dialect. The intensity rises and suddenly, silence. The pause marks the transition to the next stage, the camp. Textures. The skin of the map is rough. The map is formed with relief paint that gives volume and the root is traced in red, reminiscent of scars. The suitcase is made of smooth leather, cold to the touch. The clothes on the floor are soft, warm with the scent of the dust. The papers are thin, dry, like official documents of an old administration. Scent, or leather. Feeling. The visitor comes in contact with their hands and ears. They feel the coldness of the space and the weight of the absence. The experience is one of rapture, from the familiar to the unknown. Visual narrative experience. Light and space. The lighting is low, with a warm beam of light projecting the map from behind, creating shadow and relief. Suitcases and clothes create long shadows like ghosts of missing bodies. Scattered papers function as visual traces of lives abruptly cut short. Subtitles, visual markings. On the wall, the following words are projected. Abtransportien, Gefangen, Erholungsheim. On the side, the phrase, history is written on the body. Lights up slowly and fades like a breath. Overall experience. Whether the visitor sees, hears, or touches, they participate in a ritual of uprooting. Familiar objects ask for weight and silent absence. The visitor is invited to stand at the last moment of freedom, before imprisonment, to feel the rupture between homeland and the unknown. Abduction is the loss of identity, the beginning of disappearance. The image shows an art installation in dark dramatic lighting with warm brown and golden tones. At the center and high on the wall hangs a large piece of stretched processed leather. Engraved on it is a map of Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean. A thick red line runs across the map from north to south, like a seam or wound, ending in Crete. At the bottom of the parchment, the word Chania is written, while at the upper right, the word Hartheim Castle can be seen. On the floor, directly beneath the map, there are two old leather suitcases, one on the left and one on the right. Each suitcase carries a name tag. Between them lies a pile of crumpled grey-blue clothing, like garments of people who left in haste or never returned. In front of the clothes scattered on the floor are official documents, yellow and old. They resemble arrest papers of administrative documents from a period of persecution. The lighting is low and warm, creating an atmosphere of memory, loss, and historical trauma. The image gives the sense of a monumental artwork that narrates a journey of exile or displacement. For the next 4 weeks, I'm going to give a short description, and the rest of the details you can find in my PowerPoint. Artwork title, The Camp, The Enslavement of the Body. Work description, a scene of silence and fatigue. In the half-light, the shadow of a human figure is projected on a bare wall, holding a tool and digging, as if performing endless forced labor. The shadow seems to move without a body, a ghost of labor, a body without freedom. In front of it, sacks full of earth, a pile of stones and rusty tools, shovels, crowbars, broken metal pieces. The light is low, yellowish, like from a camp lamp or an underground chamber. The work depicts the life of prisoners in the camps of Mauthausen and its sub-camps, Melkenhusen, exhaustion, illness, decay. Earth, soil, sacks, and rusty tools are not just a scenery. They are symbols of the body's enslavement, the transformation of the human being into a tool, the complete deprivation of individuality. More details in my PowerPoint for this work. Artwork title, The Bus, The Journey of No Return. Work description, the shadow of a blue bus is projected onto a semi-transparent fabric. In its windows, the silhouettes of people are visible, motionless figures who seem to be looking out. As the light shifts, the bus moves slowly from left to right and then disappears into darkness. Next to the projection, a visual work, the shadow of a human figure smoking, formed out of dried plant material, herbal smoke. The phrase, "It will be my last cigarette," is heard and projected like a testimony. The work refers to the final journey of the prisoners from Mauthausen to Hartheim, inside the blue buses of extermination, the vehicles of the T4 program. The image of a familiar means of transport is turned into a symbol of death, where the simplicity of everyday life becomes a nightmare. More details for this work in my PowerPoint. Artwork title, Hartheim, the Tower of Medical Horror. Work description. The space is transformed into a cold chamber lit by a faint metallic light. From the ceiling, metal pipes hang at various lengths, as if suspended. Between them, white fabrics bearing shadowy human forms, distorted, half dissolved, with the word Erholungsheim written on them, the deceptive name used by the Nazis for euthanasia centers. The visitor walks between the pipes as if through a corridor of a medical laboratory or execution chamber. At the end of the path, the room sinks into silence. The coldness of the metal and the absence of sound become the very material of memory. Here, the experience culminates. The body freezes, the breath becomes heavy, and time stops. Then, more information about this work in my PowerPoint. The names, Silence and Ashes, artwork title 57 plus X, in memory of those who were never recorded. Work description, in the center of the space, a layer of soil and ashes spread. On top of it, 57 black cement masks lie on the ground as if emerging on half buried. Each mask bears a number, cold, industrial, emotionless. Among them, a red mask stands out, symbolizing all the unknown, all the X of history were never recorded. Around the work, written with chalk or carved into the soil, are the real names of the 57 Greek victims of Hartheim. The space resembles an improvised memorial. There is no central statue, no altar. Memory lies on the ground at the same level as the visitor, where it belongs. More info for this work in my PowerPoint. Last work, Exit the Mirror, I'm going to describe in detail. Artwork title, Exit the Mirror. Is Hardheim here? Work description. At the end of the path, the visitor faces a two-sided mirror. On the first surface, softly lit, you can read the phrase, "If you had lived then, would you have resisted?" On the second side, you can read, "And today, why are you silent?" The mirror is not an object of display. It is an invitation to self-observation. The viewer's own image becomes a part of the work. The reflection replaces the face of the victim, the witness, the spectator, the responsible one. The experience is entirely personal. History looks back. The light is cold, almost clinical, while the surrounding environment sinks into shadow. Silence is complete. Every breath or step acquires weight. The exhibition does not end with an answer, but with a question that returns to each person. Interpretive dimension. The mirror is both boundary and passage. It forces the viewer to look not at the past, but at the present. The question doesn't apply only in the war period, but the whole existence as human beings towards violence, injustice, inclusion. The act of singular reflection becomes a moral event. Hardheim is not just a place in Austria. It is wherever silence replaces resistance. Multisensory experience. Sounds. Absolute silence. Only the visitor's own sounds, footsteps, breathing. The absence of sound becomes a presence. The space sounds through its emptiness. Textures. The mirror has a smooth, cold, almost metallic surface. Its frame is heavy, solid, as if it were framing silence. On the floor, a thin carpet or smooth concrete, neutral, so the stance of the body is emphasized. Feeling. The visitor approaches the mirror and feels their own presence returning. There is no narrative, no sound, only presence. The lack of stimuli is the contact itself, a moment of inner resistance, guilt, or decision. Visual narrative experience. Light and space. The space is dark. The mirror is lit by a narrow vertical beam of light that changes in intensity. In the first phrase, the phrase, "If you had lived then, would you have resisted?" appears in white light. On the back side, in red light, the phrase appears, "And today, why are you silent?" Visual elements, subtitles. Since there is no sound, the only words are the questions themselves. The phrases light up slowly like a pulse. The walls around are dark, absorbing the light. The only thing that remains visible is the mirror and the visitor's face. Rhythm movement. The viewer is invited to approach and stand in front of the mirror. Overall experience. Exit is not liberation, it's confrontation. After earth, ash, sound, and silence, the visitor sees the only face that remains, their own. Here, art gives its place to full consciousness. The exhibition does not close, it looks back, and the final phrase is not written on the wall, but reflected in the visitor's eyes. With this structure, the exhibition is not simply a historical reference, it is a ritual of memory and at the same time a call to action in the present. The proposed space for this design is in Technopolis Gazi Gate in Athens and in Chania in Creta, and I have some points why it could be good to exhibit there. And for the closing of my PowerPoint, I would like to say some words about Liminal and my participation. I would like to express my deep gratitude to Liminal for its meaningful support of disabled artists. My participation in Worthy to be Remembered was not simply an artistic experience. It is an act of memory, responsibility, and community. Through the process, I felt that our voices as disabled artists are heard, seen, and given the space they deserve. Liminal created a safe and creative environment where history, memory, and art met with respect and sensitivity. Thank you for the trust, the collaboration, and the honor of being part of such an important initiative. We continue with memory, art, and resistance.
Thank you so much, Eva, for that amazingly rich description of your extremely evocative and strong exhibition proposal. I really hope it comes to life. I hope to see it in Athens one day, and one day soon. Okay, for the last part of our event today, I would like to invite Kit Blamia and R.C. Talbot to present us their work, what they did during the residency. Are you both there somewhere? It's so hard not being able to see everybody. Ah, there you are. Okay, great. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Are you ready?
Hello.
Great. Okay, I will be here. I'm just going to turn my camera off, but I will be in the background. Take it away.
Thank you. I'm Kit. I'm white and I've got short brown hair, and I'm wearing round silver rimmed glasses, and we're in quite a low lighting room. Yeah.
Hello, I'm RC. I am wearing a green shirt and I have short, dark and green hair. And I'm using them pronouns.
Yeah.
I will just give a short intro to what we're going to say. And there is a schedule in the chat now. And yeah, so we are Kit and me were working together as an assistance and artist team, and we traveled to places here in Berlin and in Athens. Yeah, to try to get in touch with the places and their history and the people there nowadays, and yeah, and to find acts of remembering and finding an understanding of memory as an active thing. Yeah, and it will talk about those visits in the next 5 minutes, and then we will each talk a bit about some of the things that came out of that for each of us.
Thank you. Yeah, so to let you know about the things that we did together, the things that we explored together, in Germany, we visited quite a lot of the Stolpersteine, which are these brass plaques that are that you see quite a lot around Berlin and all over Germany, actually, which remember the people who were murdered by the Nazis, and they're in the pavements. And we visited some of these Stolpersteine of people who were killed in the Action T4 program. So that's the Nazi project to exterminate sick and disabled people. And we spent time with the stones, and we also got to know a bit of the stories of the people. And we polished them up also, and we made imprints. We made clay imprints of the stones and like rubbings with color of the stones. Yeah, and we also visited the memorial at Tiergarten 4, which is the headquarters of this like Nazi program, and there's a memorial there, and we spent time there. And we also were connecting to places that have a connection to this history and a connection to our own lives. So we visited one of these stones in Erfurt, which is where Arcee's from. And we visited somewhere called Eberswalde, where I spent some weeks in hospital there. And there are 7 stones outside of the hospital, remembering people who were murdered by their doctors there in the Second World War. Yeah, that's what we did in Germany. And in Athens, we spent some time in Athens, and we visited the hospital that you saw in Vicky's presentation, and which was like the headquarters of the disabled resistance history that we were learning about. Yeah, and we went there many times, 4 or 5 times, and we spoke to the security staff there, and they told us about the names that you saw also in Vicky's pictures of on the marble stairs, the names that the disabled veterans scratched in. And yeah, we spent time there as well, and spent time, there's a church, and next to the church there were some of the resistance fighters were buried there. And it's also like an unknown history that there's no plaque, there's no sign about it, but the staff there did know about it, and we had conversations with them about it. Yeah, and we also made clay imprints of the names and crayon rubbings, and yeah, just did a lot of learning and spending time in these places and with these people. Yeah, I think that describes what we did together. And I'll now talk about what I did, what direction it took me in. And yeah, it's kind of 3 areas that I want to tell you about. So I've been creating a zine, which is like a self-published booklet about the history of Action T4 in Germany, and its links to today. So I've been like writing and sketching about this process of discovering the history, and finding the connections to myself, to the hospitals I've been in, to myself as a chronically sick, disabled person living in Germany, and as someone who's in community with lots of sick and disabled people, and as a carer. And my particular interest has been about finding the links to today and asking the question, like, where did Action T4 go? And because, as we know, many of the Nazi ideologies, they didn't start or end with Germany in the Second World War. And I've been looking at like the contemporary manifestations or examples of the ideologies of Action T4, and looking at how like similar belief systems still exist, and how these shape like laws and state policies, and how these things still are present with us today. And then the second project I've been working on, which came from learning about the really inspiring history of the disabled resistance fighters in Athens, in the hospitals. That took me to doing a speculative fiction writing project, which is based around imagining resistance to the Action T4 program. Imagining resistance that didn't happen, or that maybe did happen but wasn't recorded or wasn't remembered. And it's often said that there's like no survivors of Action T4 because everybody was killed. But I know like that there's evidence of people that they knew what was happening to them, and I believe that that people will have found ways to help each other out and to like survive another day, or to try to like small moments of resistance and survival, or small ways to leave evidence of your existence and leave warnings. So I'm writing like an imagined histories of resistance that could have happened, to also raise the questions like, why didn't it happen? What can it tell us about fascism and the repression under fascism? What can it tell us about limits to solidarity when it comes to ableism? And I'm taking inspiration from like the history in Athens, and also other things I've discovered. Like in Italy, there was a hospital with doctors who invented a contagious disease to keep away the Nazis from deporting their Jewish patients and their anti-fascist patients. And there was a doctor in Berlin an Arab doctor who saved his Jewish patient by dressing her up as his receptionist, and like she wore a hijab and was disguised as his receptionist. And there's like there's a story of a Greek island where the mayor and the bishop refused to give the names of the Jewish residents of the island, and instead they gave their own names. to the Nazis. And yeah, I find that really inspiring. Like what would have happened if doctors in Germany had done that, given their own names instead of their patients' names. Yeah, so I'm diving into these stories of resistance and imagining more examples that did or didn't happen. And finally, the third thing that I'm working on is like about making that the history of the disabled war veterans and their role in resisting the occupation in Athens, like making that more accessible and spreading that story, either in the form of a zine or a series of posters. I've been doing some experiments with risograph printing and also lino printing. I'd like to show you some of those. Yeah, I'd love to make this like really powerful history more accessible to people, and I connect to the tradition of like political posters and printmaking. And can I share my screen just to show you some of the lino prints?
Of course.
Yes, I can.
Can you press on the button? Oh yeah, great, it's working.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, I'm really inspired by the fact that in things like the patients, the war veterans, and the doctors and the nurses and the resistance, they were comrades. And this is like the opposite of what was happening in Germany at the time. And it's something I've never experienced as a sick person. So that's a lino print of, yeah, a doctor, a Greek resistance fighter, a nurse, and a disabled veteran. It's a lino print. And then I've got a image of two disabled...
Sorry to interrupt you, Kit. We can only still see it small. We can't see the
Oh,
big version.
really? Okay. Yeah. Huh. Oh, maybe. Okay, hang on a second. I think I know what I need to do. Entire screen. Okay, there we go. So this is the one I was talking about with the doctor and the woman resistance fighter and the nurse and the disabled war veteran. I hope you can see that big now.
Yeah.
Cool. And then there's a second one, which is two disabled war veterans, and one is like carrying the other who's got crutches, and they're both shouting, and it's like a resistance protest image. Basically, I was taking scenes out of the research from Yasona and like wanting to tell the stories by bringing them out in print. And then this final one, which is an image of someone in a wheelchair helping someone up to hang up a black flag, which is what they did when they were hunger striking in the hospitals. And then there's an image of somebody with the Voice of the Disabled publication, which we saw from Vicky's walk as well. So yeah, I think I've talked a bit too long. I want to pass over to Arsi. That's the things I wanted to share about my explorations. Thank you. I'll pass over to you, Arsi, now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. For me, the residency, was a new situation in many ways. In terms of traveling and working with an assistant and researching and making art with having assistants, and so I came to Greece with the expectation to experiment a lot and find out how things don't work mostly. But also learning in the process and trying again, and something else doesn't work, but one learns new things every time. And Kit has already mentioned that we went to the hospital, and when we went there, we also went around the hospital. I guess maybe Vicky didn't, I'm not quite sure if you did that or if you went straight to the hospital, but we tried to find a way to sort of outline the hospital around, and we did it several times. And for me, it was also learning about how to make walks accessible later for me, like through description or recordings. And yeah, I'm still thinking about all the materials that we collected and how to go through them and how to deal with them. And while we were going around the hospital, I was also trying to leave a trace on the floor with powder that I had attached to my wheelchair. And this practice I also took into my everyday routes, and it was a form of stopping and taking a step back in everyday moving around Athens, which was quite a challenge. And I've lost my train. I was also taking with white powder, and it is surprisingly hard to make powder fall to the floor. So there were several different methods tried and different powders. I worked with marble dust and with flour, sugar, and salt. And one way to document this process was to put on an app that was for tracing jogging routes. Which turned out to be quite not as round shapes and as controllable as I had imagined, but it's some interesting shapes and lines developed in there. And the other way of this connection to the floor that I was trying to establish with these, also with this movement and tracing, I was thinking if photographies work and how photographies also play such a huge role in our way we commemorate. And that's something that doesn't come so easy for me. So I tried to find a way to do that, and it actually turned out a little bit by itself, because there's so many things going on in the streets and while moving that the photographs got this feel of being on the way, and the moment has almost already passed that one tries to photograph. So that's some of the things I did in Athens. And I don't know if we have still time to move to things I am thinking about doing here or have started doing here. Is it still?
Yeah, we have a little bit of time.
It's not going to be very long.
I would be really curious to hear what your either joint plans are, or we heard already from Kit about what your plans are for the future. I'm curious also to hear what your plans are. Say, we talked a little bit earlier about Greek mythology, and you had carried out a little bit of research into that. I don't know if that's something that you're still working with or if you've moved away from there.
No, that's still part of the work that I now want to do here. I want to continue working in the pottery, which I have started a year ago, and all of these thoughts and actions around memory and remembering, and and just also getting into a new city and have made me very aware of how we shape our own stories and how we constantly weave them, and and there is some mythology around that. It's also connected with presence and past and fate and death, and so I'm looking into making some pottered objects that are related to this kind of mythology, but also other ones, and specifically looking into crocheting things first and then dipping them into liquid clay and then firing them, and they get a special materiality and texture, and and Kit usually comes with me in the pottery, so maybe we will have some exchange about that as well. And and with the photos of the things in Athens, I'm thinking about, I would be interested in making small photos that were like small when I made them in quality, and they are sort of shaky and in a very large scale. And there were some things that we've been thinking about, like contact. We haven't had official contact with the hospital that we went to. We talked to some people at the entrance there, and they were really interesting. And we thought it would have been nice to see them another time and maybe also share the history with them. But we haven't. The time was too short that we were there to finish this. But maybe we can also talk with people who are in Athens still and see how that goes.
That sounds like a potential follow-up project.
A little. So I don't know if you want to. I can also share some of the photos, but I don't know if we still have time.
Yeah, I think maybe share one photo. That would be wonderful. Maybe while you're getting that ready in the background, I can say a few words about Almi, who couldn't be with us today. Our other artist, who was also an artist based in Germany, who also went over to Athens, and is actually also a part of the same collective as Kit and RC back here in Berlin, the Sickness Affinity Group, and works a lot with the subject of collective archiving of disabled experiences, and looking at intergenerational trauma and how you form solidarity with each other and strategies for resistance and survival, and had a very similar experience as well of going over and trying to get to terms with the actual space and the memory that's contained in the landscape, in the urban landscape. So it was really, really interesting talking with her. And if you're interested, we can maybe share, her details are on the Liminal website, underneath all of the information about all of the artists who participated in the residency. So please do check out her work and have a look. And I would highly recommend the collective work that Almi was a part of, that the Sickness Affinity Group co-curated together, called the Soma Archives. And I will put that in the chat. It's a really beautiful project exploring some of these themes that are connected to this. And also, I guess similarly to Kit and RC, Almi was also looking into her own biographical history, so her own links with Greece in particular. She also has Greek heritage in her family and was tracing back that heritage and looking at intergenerational trauma and oppression from that perspective. I think it was really interesting how you were both looking at your own biographies and comparing your own lived experience of disability or as people with disabilities, and then comparing that with the experiences of those who lived decades ago. And I thought that was really interesting that in both of your practices, there was this kind of layering of the historical and then the contemporary, and drawing that red thread of, you know, fascist and ableist legacies back then, and what that means today, and what we carry with us, I guess, as individuals, but also as a community. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about Almi, but that's my little contribution that she gave me permission to make in her absence. I'm going to pass back over to you, RC, to tell us a little bit about this photograph that's up on the screen.
Yeah, this is one of the photographs of, I think when we actually went around the hospital, with yeah, most of the more visible and some of the often very sporadic guidance for people who use, I don't know what you call it in English, like a stick, for a guiding stick to feel the floor. Yeah, and the line, there's a white line on the floor that is broken up, and one can see a little bit of my chair in the front of the image. And yeah, this is one of the times that it worked okay with the dust falling down, and in this case it also traces my way of, yeah, through the axis lines of Athens. Yeah. Yeah, I guess for me this tracing was also a way of what you said before, Kate, about, yeah, about the presence, and saying I am here now, and yeah, I want to stop and acknowledge that. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for having us and for your support.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you both as well for sharing your work, your research. I really want to see more. I really want to see this developed. I want to see the zine. I wanted to say that the images that you showed, Kit, were incredibly provocative and really beautiful. And I really wish that there was a wider audience for them. So I really hope that there are further opportunities for you to keep going with developing this work, and that there will be other platforms to share it.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone have any funding ideas? Let us know.
I do actually have a few ideas. I will follow up with you later on. Yeah, maybe just to kind of now open the floor for any questions from our audience who have stayed with us. Thank you so much for staying with us this afternoon, this evening, depending on where you are. If you want to, you can type a question in the chat. If it's more accessible for you, you can also just speak on the microphone and ask a question to any of the artists who are here this afternoon. While you're thinking of some questions, I'm gonna maybe just give a little bit of a comment about how really, I don't know, I love how so many of you all have found these moments of strength, resistance, and joy as well in handling these really quite difficult, dark themes, and then finding the light in that history, and finding a way to kind of overturn the history to something positive, empowering, something that we can reclaim and retell in a different way. So thank you all very, very much for that. Do we have any questions from the public? Now is your chance. Checking the chat here. Oh, Marilena has a question.
Also, okay. No, I have a lot of questions, but I know that I will have the time with the artists to discuss about the artworks and the next steps. So only I want to add a few things. First of all, I'm sharing right now, I'm trying to, the link to the research articles in Greek and German in accessible formats from the historical research, in case anyone wants to know more about the topics. And I will send with an email later. Also, I want to personally thank Bericlusion and Kate, because we learned so much from this collaboration. Bericlusion is one really experienced and innovative organization on inclusive art and accessibility in Berlin. And Kate is Bericlusion, embodies that spirit. And as you can see, she has a very wonderful way of curating and accommodating different things. So thank you very much. And also, I think that the artists felt that way, that you can trust her. And I want to thank all of you, the artists in Almi, for being so open, generous, and committed throughout this process. And I want to stress 2 points that really, I want to say a lot of things, but I want to say 2 things about Eva's presentation, the final artwork. I mean, the mirror, I think it's excellent idea, very meaningful idea that drags the visitor to reflect and to ask themselves what I will be part of this or not. And with the lack of stimuli, the silence, to reflect on the very difficult themes that's explored during the exhibition. And also really find very fascinating the connection that Kit did, the comparison between the resistance of disabled people and the collaboration with the staff in Greece, which is another context, of course, here. But on the opposite side in Germany and the euthanasia program, and also the sketches are so similar to the lithographs that went very popular back in the time, the occupation, that you sketch is like, you can see the resemblance that there's right. Also, the island is Zakynthos that you referred to. And finally, and I'm stopping here, I wanted to share with you that on Sunday, an organization in Greece, an actors organization, Διαδικτυακή Ανοχή, Zero Tolerance, will have a gathering to honor the disabled veterans in the hospital LPs. So if you are in Athens and you want to go to join them for this commemoration event. That's it.
Thanks, Marilena. I see there's somebody who has a question. I wanted to give them a chance to ask their question, but I'm afraid I don't speak Greek and I can't read the name. Marilena, can you help me?
Yes, that's me.
Ioanna is from Simeo.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, we know each other.
Hi. I'm Ioanna from Simeo. Sorry for the Greek, but I couldn't find how to change it on the on my mobile. I also wanted to say my thanks. Thanks to you, Berlin Inclusion, and Kate, and to Liminal and Marilena. I didn't really have the time to give to this project, and I'm sorry for this. And I hope the next time I will have the time, because it is very inspiring. And I really think it went very well. I also see a lot of participants here in this Zoom meeting, and I'm happy for this. And yeah, I was just thinking while listening at the presentations and looking at the artworks or the works in progress, that as you all saw when visiting Athens, and people living in Athens know it, Athens does not have a very good connection to its memory and to commemoration of things. And someone was talking about this Stolpersteine in Berlin, these small bronze stones, let's say, which I find a very clever idea, and I was glad to hear that somebody was taking care of them and polishing them. And yes, I think we need such projects with artists to remind us of what has happened, and that people with disabilities are here and should be more visible. That's all from my side. I hope in the next project I can be more present, and thanks for everything.
Thank you very much. I hope so too. I'm afraid we've run out of time, and in the spirit of accessibility, I'm afraid we won't go over so that people don't miss out, and also so that people, if they need to leave, they can leave. So I would like to thank you all very, very much for coming today, for listening to all of the artists, for engaging in the project. Thank you very much to all the artists who worked really hard on their projects, their presentations, and yeah, I really hope that there's a continuation of this work somehow. You all know where I am. You can always talk to me, and I'm sure we can find ways together to try and encourage you and support you in whatever way we can. And perhaps maybe a thank you as well from Berlinclusion to Liminal and to everybody else. And I think I would like to maybe leave our event or finish our event with a sentence that we heard from Eva's presentation, and in the spirit of solidarity, that it is not enough to remember the dead, we need to defend the living. And perhaps that's maybe the note that I would like to finish our event on today. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Have a lovely rest of the year. Stay well, stay safe, and take care of each other. Thank you. Bye.